Excited to be a part of this show. I think it is aptly titled Chromatic because I feel a kindred spirit with all the artists involved, the way we use color to be, I think, the focus of our work. Michael Reeve-Snyder's wet and wet colors that are energized. Eric Zamet's work that seems to blend these planes of color. And for me, I think color is the most important part, or at least where I start with how I want to make a painting, because I think there's 100 different ways to make a painting, but for me, color is the energy. It's, I think, also the experience and the subject matter. I always like to talk to people to sort of understand what their relationship is to my work, if they sort of feel something from it. And Craig talked about this painting, which is called Wish, that it feels like the experience throughout a day, starting on one side being morning, sunrise, and that sort of warm light, sort of the beginning as it gently transitions into activity, and ending with twilight and evening and blue violet. And in that way, color is a really strong signifier for us. It's sunsets are romantic. Bright colors stimulate, our sensations. There are things that sort of weave in and out of this painting very structurally, but then they disappear very quickly because it's very atmospheric, it's transparent, and it sort of fades away. And in that way, I think Craig makes a really good point, that it does feel like the passage of time. It is things that we notice in our day-to-day, whether we're thinking about something, glancing at our phone, and then seeing something else. Just in a matter of minutes, there's so much information that we take in, and I want color to be that active in my paintings. Movement, sensation, I think, are two things that are interlocked. If we think about paintings standing perfectly still, like they don't move like a movie, or they don't have a beginning and end and a middle like a song, everything blasts out at you at once. And so I want the color to be that intensity. I want you to be affected by it. I was at the museum with my friend Michael this afternoon, and I was really just taken by this little Corot painting of a tree and a landscape, and I was getting sucked into it, and it was mesmerizing. And as much as I like artists like that, I want my paintings to come out at you. I want them to push forward, and the vehicle for that is color. So the title, Wish, doesn't have a big narrative to it, but I do like the idea that it is this big, vast space that you kind of look into and expect anything, and there is this optimism to it. And if we think of painting as fiction or possibility or a story waiting to be sort of unfolded before us, Wish seemed like a good way to sort of like step into that world. So I think that's all I have to say, unless someone has a question or would like to know more. I'd be happy to address that specifically. Thank you for being here, and I'll take questions if there are any.
Dion, do you name the paintings before you paint them or after you paint them?
That's a good question. And I think titles are important for different artists in different way. And for me, I'm very intuitive, and I let the paintings come to completion, and then they'll kind of, like, once I understand what they are and I spend a little time with them, they'll tell me what they are, and I'll know what that place or that feeling is, and that's where the title comes from. Occasionally, like, I know during the process making it, but it's never like I need to think of the title first before I make the painting. That's just not how I work. But I think they are important, but for me, usually at the end.
Thank you.
Good question. Yes?
Who are your art heroes?
Art heroes? Well, I feel pretty strongly about the other artists, that I'm showing with. It's only Heather's work that's relatively new to me. I mean, I've shown with Michael and Eric before, and I think their work is fantastic, and I really enjoy the dialogue that they have. And Richard was my teacher in undergrad in Ohio, at Ohio State University. So I feel like, just having sort of a shared interest in color and painting and sort of making abstraction, like that is a really important thing for me. I would say that there are you could say if you could have any painting or any artist's work, I always think Paul Klee is a huge influence of mine. His level of invention, working with abstraction, imagery, working in a series of things that kind of cycle back to another idea. There's a playfulness to him, but they're also very serious. He gives so much with a very small piece, and he's a real hero of mine. Thanks, that's a cool question.
So Dion, your earlier work didn't have this gradation that you see in the work currently. So can you talk about how you kind of transitioned into that?
Yes. I don't know exactly when I started using the fade or gradient transitions. It's a few years ago, but as I think many artists want to do, there is this desire to find new territory or challenge yourself or surprise yourself. If representation is being able to imitate, something really closely and well, I think abstraction is about invention and finding a new way to show a new place or an idea. And so for me, that was a way to have the ideas of time and motion seem larger, like more like atmospheres and landscape, to slow down and disguise things that sort of slip behind, being obscured by the fades and the transparencies. And so there's more that I can do, and I've continued to use them in overlays in different ways. And I want to keep trying new things, and so that's how they come about. Yeah.
How do you set the value of the painting?
I'm sorry?
How do you set the value of the painting? The value of it?
Value the size?
No.
The value of price.
Well, I think as artists sort of, go throughout their careers and work with galleries, and if you have, museum shows, and, that all sort of builds towards, what you're doing, how it's valued, and, what your career is. And so it's not my decision solely as much as it is the people that I work with and who have supported my career, and I'm very grateful for how that comes to be, and I trust the people that I work with to, find how that is calculated, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to add, because we did a short video a month ago, paintings are pretty much fair traded. So this size painting in Dion's other galleries would be priced similarly.
Okay.
So it's not the whim of the gallery. It's, they start out at point A, and as their career expands, their prices go up. But it is very consistent across all of the galleries that represent any particular artist.
Thank you for adding to that answer, as I don't know always how to sort of
How to express that.
correctly, yeah, but yes. Any other questions? Yes.
I don't know what kind of light is in what your studio setup is like, but what kind of light do you prefer to paint by?
Oh, that's something I was talking about just a moment ago, and how while I'm influenced by my studio's in Los Angeles, and California and West Coast light is distinctly different from Ohio, where I grew up, and there is a feeling that is about sort of openness and saturation that is influence. It is kind of woven into the narrative experience of my work. my studio has no windows and it has fluorescent lights. The temperature of the lights are very sort of carefully chosen, and they're directed down because I paint on tabletops. So, you know, like anyone who would be working at a desk wants to have good light, or a surgeon in an operating room or something, you want to have that very sort of practical lighting. It's not gallery lighting like this. And so that's how the work is made. But I have to say, I was totally stunned to walk into how glowing and well lit this show is. And that's the experience of seeing a work in an exhibition versus the workshop studio where it came from. Well, thank you all for being here, and if you have any other questions during the reception, I'm happy to talk to you with my mask on. But please enjoy the show, and thank you, Craig.